Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage. There you'll find information about the frequencies we transmit on, a little background information on the club, and also you'll find a link on our front page that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5. That's a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM. I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make contact before the net gets fully underway on this repeater. Again, good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So far checked in by video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Richard, K7ITX, WU7N James, and myself, Dave, KD7ZYM. Is there anybody else wishing to join the net this evening? Well, we'll go with the group that we have. Let's start off with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. This is Ron, KD7QKU over here in Tacoma. See, I was visiting with Dave before you guys showed up, and he was telling me his brother Don is doing pretty good. That's good news. Yeah, and I went to the doctor on Tuesday. I still feel crummy, so I called the doctor and said come in Tuesday at 10. I did, and she said, well, you know, I mean, nothing I can pinpoint. I mean, what we'll do, I guess, is send you over to the lab and get a whole bunch of lab tests, which they did, and I got them all back, and looks like everything's pretty much normal. My glucose sugar's a little bit high. So, I don't know, Richard, you have high sugar? So, it came back at 120, is that high? He's saying no. Okay, well, it's it's above the range. I don't know what the range is, I'd have to look now. But anyway, oh, there's Lee. So it's nice to see everybody tonight, and my little mini splits, you know, my heaters that I had installed, have been working just great. I have left them on 24/7 to keep the house so nice and warm. I really like them. So I guess with that, I'll turn it back to Dave. Net control, KD7QKU.
QKU. Well, let's go to Port Angeles to Lee in 7KC. KC in Port Angeles. It might be that echo link is down.
Tonight. Yeah, this is N7KC Lee at Port Angeles. It's going to be a little clumsy tonight, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I don't have anything to add here till I get things straightened away. So back to you, Dave. N7KC Lee at Port Angeles.
WW7N, third party.
And let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Well, that's excellent. You two got it figured out. We could hear you just fine, Lee. So, yeah, just continue on as normal. And I think James has the correct fidelity, so to speak, to make you sound just like, almost like on Echolink. So, anyway, it's good to see you. I know that the internet's down, and Rob and Rich are working, and they know what to do. They just got to get up there now. I guess it was a router failure. So anyway, so again, great to see you, Lee. Well, I don't know, Ron. I've had high blood sugar, not enough to where I have to take, shots or anything like that. It's, and the true measure of diabetes is, from what I know, is what they call A1C. And A1C, if your number is above 5.7 to about 6.2 or something like that, you're pre-diabetic, and then anything higher than that, you're diabetic, and then it becomes a question if you're much above 7, you get around 7 for an extended period of time, I think then you got to start getting shots or serious medicine. 120, I see 120 all the time, and not that it's good, but it could be a lot worse. You could be 220. That's a lot worse. And I've always been told after a meal like lunch or dinner, and you measure your blood sugar 2 to 3 hours later, as long as it's under 180, you're out of the bad zone. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's really nice. I had 99 the other day for the first time in a long time, and so I was pretty happy about that. And that was after eating cake and ice cream before I went to bed. So it just blows my mind sometimes what you can eat, and it still doesn't matter. And then other times you thought you were doing fine, and it goes through the roof. I hope it isn't long COVID, but long COVID is more of a respiratory problem, and if you're not full of congestion and coughing all the time, I don't think you got long COVID. At least that's the bad part of long COVID. You might have the minor part, if that even exists. A pretty busy day. I would say it's very successful. I seem to have all the paperwork to get my mom's estate, the estate taxes filled out, or at least started and under control. And so I left a message for my one and only accountant in my whole life I've ever had. He called me back this morning, and so right away I told him I thought I had everything. He, asked some really important questions that I struggled to answer, and had to get my book out that has all the paperwork. But I was successful, and plus his quote, I reconfirmed what he said what the price was going to be, because I know how that can. I never said that, so I've avoided that. Now I'm going to actually have a good reason to confirm it in an email when I send my documents to him securely. So that was really great that he called me back, and that's just a very stressful thing that's off my mind, because I didn't want to have to do it myself or hunt for another guy. I'm off and running up to where I used to work to help the owner as he's closing down his company with his retirement planning. Not that I'm not a financial advisor, but I do know how to plug numbers into a program and apply inflation, rate of return on your money, and what's the other one? Inflation, rate of return, and it's another big variable there. I'll think of it in a little while. Those are two big ones. Yeah, and luck. There you go. Sure, I'll go with that. So anyway, I showed him my program. We went through a couple things. I showed him how I do it, and so I'll revisit him maybe in a couple weeks and see how he did. And the nice thing about it, I get paid to do something I'm not really very good at, so that's pretty weird. Let's see. My exposed bone in my mouth, you would think that would be horrifying, but it's not. It just feels funny, but there's no pain or anything. Only if you let your Sonicare toothbrush, the vibration, there must be something about that, because when it touched, it was horrifying. And so now, when my toothbrush gets anywhere close to where that bone is, I just almost start shaking with fear. It's really weird. I don't, the nerves are funny like that, and the bone, it's just like knocking on your head or knocking on your teeth. It doesn't hurt, but there's certain things that do, and I think maybe it's the frequency of because the Sonicare is, it's got a high-pitched vibration, and it could have been, I think it might be related to that. So that's pretty cool. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is this Boeing thing. It's just awful. I guess they're going to get the 9. I heard that they'll get 9s back up in the air in the next few days. I heard of why or what's going on. Spirit is the company that assembles things, and so they use a different type of quality control that's different from Boeing. And Spirit is at Boeing fixing problems, but they don't document what's been, it's less detailed as what Boeing does. And so Boeing might think that something Spirit has worked on. When they say it's done, it's done. Well, when in fact it hasn't really been inspected like it's supposed to be. And one thing is, when they were replacing the weather stripping on the plug door, the Spirit instructions said you can do that just by opening the door, not removing it. And if you do that, then you don't have to inspect the door. But if you pull it out and remove it, then you do have to inspect it. So I guess, and so they don't get inspected, and these bolts that are removed so you can open the door aren't getting reinstalled. And these are bolts with little cotter pins of all things that I guess are supposed to be the life of the plane, you know. It's the kind of chintzy thing that we used to get when we would get toys from Japan. You know what I mean? And they would always break. So I don't know. I love Boeing to death, so I'm not making fun of them at all. I love them to death. And any Boeing worker that's listening to this, my hat's off to, you know, the hard work you guys do. But I think what's happening is beyond control of the workers. It's a management thing for sure. So anyway, K7ITX back to net control.
K7ITX, and it's time for an ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine on Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Bellevue to James, WU7N.
Thank you. This is WU7N Northeast Bellevue tonight. Thank you for coming. And Ron, sorry to hear you're feeling poorly, but I hope you will improve quickly. As the weather improves, I think that always helps me sometimes. And Lee, glad you're with us tonight. Glad we've got an audio patch going. Here's one picture. I forgot to tell you guys. You know, I was on the team that did the first repairs to the 737 MAX. And, you know, I just took a snapshot of us out there working, and, you know, it seemed to be fine when we did that. I don't think there was any problem with anything. You know, so that's me. I'm the guy in the orange vest right there in the center with the large, that's the thing that contains the shears to cut the tape. The reason the lawyers wanted us to have the hoodies up so they couldn't, you know, not face the camera. I'm not sure why on that, but anyway, I'm sure they'll get it all worked out. In the meantime, Alaska Airlines is offering, you know, for only a $30 upgrade, a scenic view seat. They say is really exciting, and then you can also get a certificate now saying I made it on any Alaskan flight. And has a little thermometer embedded in the certificate there. That's pretty cheap too. So you want to be sure and pick that up if you ever fly there. Because I mean, if you think it's cold in Alaska, just wait till the door blows off at 15,000 feet in the middle of winter over Seattle. That's cold. There was a little waker-upper for the kid that got his shirt sucked off too. That must have been a chilly little experience. But anyway, I guess all's well that ends well, more or less. So anyway, let's see, what have I been doing? Well, not really anything too stunning. I have started into the year with just, you know, general boring stuff. And I do have an antenna out working on a deck that is going to have to get replaced this year. A big beam holding the deck up is rotting away. So that's going to be quite the project there to try and figure out how to get the multi-100-pound beam way up there a story where it belongs. So anyway, I'm definitely going to get some pictures of this because no matter how it's done, it's going to be something worth taking a picture of, that's for sure. So anyway, that's it for me here, James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. Let me turn it back to Dave, Net Control. Go ahead, Dave.
WU7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. I've got 46 degrees out and it's cloudy. Well, I wish Ron gets a little better health coming along, but at least it's warm in his house. That's pretty good. and give Lee the best wishes that communications will get better. And Richard, boy, A1C under 180, that sounds pretty good. And Boeing stock, unfortunately, is down about 20%. Can't imagine why that happened after just the first of the year. And James, I like the idea of getting a certificate from Alaska Airlines, as I'm a survivor. I think that was a pretty good deal. Could even be a better T-shirt. And for me, I got good news for my brother. His red blood cells are starting to multiply and gain in volume, you might say. This is like the third day that it's advanced, so there's a possibility within the next week to 10 days he can go home. So anyway, he's hoping for that. And the transplant seems to be functioning as it should at this point. So that's about it. And let's see. Today I got out, I was looking for shower curtains. I have one that I've had for years, and all of a sudden it started to disintegrate. Plastic, after years, it just goes away. But I went to find a replacement. My gosh, the replacement that I went to is about half the thickness of the one that I'm replacing. But they just don't make them as heavy as they used to. But that was kind of interesting. The other thing I was looking for was a Lunar New Year card for a friend to send them a Chinese New Year's card. But after going to 3 drugstores and finding out they were closed, then I went to 2 other stores to see if they had greeting cards and that carry cards, and I couldn't find anything for Lunar New Year. So I might have to make a manufacturer card myself, but anyway, to send to my friends. But that's life, I guess, in this day and age. And this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go back up to the top of the list to Ron, KD7QKU.
Ron again, KD7QKU. Well, you can just give them money, Dave. Lucky money, lucky dollars or something. I think that Chinese, they use money for everything. Let's see, I had something I was going to talk about. Now I forgot completely. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. So one of the states banned plastic bags completely. And they said that the ban is actually backfiring, because what happens is now they make those bigger, bags that you reuse to carry your groceries home. And they said that people aren't reusing them. They're just accumulating them, and then when they get a lot of them, they're just throwing them in the garbage. And they said that it takes 3 times as much plastic to make one of those, and they're 10 times harder to get rid of. So they said that they might go back just to the old plastic bags rather than these great big heavy-duty shopping bags that they've decided you're supposed to use those over and over again, but apparently people aren't doing it. So anyway, that was my big thing I saw today. See, I just don't have much to say, I guess. So Richard, you were going to go to an oral surgeon. I don't know if that happened or not, but I was kind of curious about that. I went to the dentist on Monday, and they poked and pressed and had me bite, and then I think they used this little electric thing, because they had this probe, and they had me hold this like one end, and so if I think I would have made a circuit, if it would have been bad. She kept saying, "Can you feel that? Can you feel that?" And I kept saying no, and kept saying that's good. It's okay. So they checked all my molars back there, and they seem to be fine. So the penicillin worked. My little root infection is, I guess, gone away. And I guess the Seahawks haven't hired any new football manager, but it looks like some of the kids at the University of Washington that were thinking about leaving have decided to stay. And maybe we picked up one more really good recruit. So I think maybe they'll have a pretty good team again this year. So with that 2 cents worth, I guess I'm turning it back to Dave, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to the 3 cents worth to Lee in the 7KC, Port Angeles.
I could unmute myself with the space bar, but apparently I can't. Inside KC Lee in Port Angeles, I'm getting my audio off of YouTube, and I'm hearing everybody but Dave. And Dave is, the audio is so low I can't tell what's going on. So I missed a lot. I had a feeling it was about his brother, but I missed all that. Things are okay over here. Busy times. Wednesday nights are when the club over here does its thing. Their board meeting on Wednesdays and a club meeting on Wednesdays. So I frequently can't get here. And now on weekends, we're trying to make the most of what's going on over here. So we go out occasionally. So I'll get here as often as I can. We got through the storm okay. Paula's sister-in-law, south of Oak Harbor, right on the water, we found out today has an estimated $100,000 damage to her house right on the water. It was, it's a 3-story thing. The bottom one is the garage, 3-car garage. And there was water going over the house. They sit right on the exposed area below south of Oak Harbor, looking right out to Smith Island, which is several miles out there, but they're getting the full reach of the street. And boy, I'll tell you, they had things knocked over in the basement, their garage, from things hammering on blocks, hammering on the house. It took off 2/3 of the siding on the west side. That's concrete siding that they had put on there for armament. Anyway, logs all totally around the house. They're only about 10 feet from the bulkhead, and the bulkhead's only about 5 feet above the water. So they had quite an experience over there. She died last April, and so she's by herself, and she still doesn't have any water. Then she had 9 inches of water in the lower section. It froze out, and all of the stuff that fell off the shelves from the hammering until it thawed. So she's got her hands full over there. I don't have much else. I forgot to punch my timer, so I'm probably out of time. So back to you, Dave. This has been 7KC Lee in Port Angeles.
WW7ATS.
7KC, thanks with that. Well, let's move over to K7ITX, Richard.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. Oh my God, Lee, that's crazy. Well, yeah, probably, I don't know if this is the 100-year storm for that house. Sounds like it, I would hope. I know that, just outside of Tacoma, not too far from where Ron lives, Day Island, they have people that have a due west exposure, and some of them north, but and the bulkhead sounds about the same, except they're got a street. They're across. There's a street between their front yards and the bulkhead right at the beach. But they usually the wind in that area is kind of more southerly, southwesterly than due west. I think Fox Island kind of helps, weirdly enough, somewhat of a windbreak, but it sure sounds similar. They'll get just the perfect wind, and it's generally what do they call it, the king tide, and it just I don't know. I'm a pretty skittish, paranoid person. Look for a place to live. I don't want to live next to a river, and I don't want to live downstream from a dam. Those are the two things that I am kind of paranoid about, or a floodplain. I don't know. I'm lucky. I'm high up, and for my neighborhood, I am the highest up. So even the storm drains won't, well, knock on wood, affect me. But geez, that's just terrible, Lee. Geez. Oh, I feel so sorry for her. Okay, so, Ron, to answer your question, no, I have not seen the oral surgeon yet. I don't get to see him until Monday. Thankfully, there's no pain right now, and if there were pain, then it probably most likely might turn into an emergency, to the point where I can't eat if you can't eat, that's an emergency, and then that actually might be a good thing, because then I'd be in the hospital, I'd be admitted into the hospital, and then my oral surgery would be covered. But because I'm not in the hospital, and Washington Dental doesn't cover it, and nor does Medicare cover it, so I don't know. It would be a hassle to get hospitalized for something like this when it doesn't hurt at this point. So, no, I'm not going to lose my appetite. It's just money. What can I say? Ron, plastic versus paper bags. Well, my thought on that is I don't like plastic bags, and I say ban all of them and go back to paper. I mean, the Trader Joe's has paper bags, Kroger, QFC has paper bags. Here's the thing, and I'm from a family that was, Debbie worked for Simpson, and they had a paper mill in Tacoma, Tacoma Craft, and they made boxes. That box was their thing, but Longview Fiber, I'm sure, makes paper bags, and if you look at their trees, it's just looks like a cornfield. These are not anything that's going to harm the environment, as far as I can tell, other than, I guess, the water that you grow them with. But which is worse? Paper bags everywhere you look? Plastic bags everywhere you look in the water. The poor animals get caught up in them, or deer. I see just horrible things with plastic bags and the poor animals, where if it was paper, it would just dissolve, so I don't know. That's a pet peeve of mine, because I always try to grab a paper bag whenever possible. The other thing that happened today for me was I have a cousin that's about 5 years younger than me that I hadn't talked to in about 5 years, and he just called me out of the blue today. Yeah. A lot of water under the bridge, and we were really good friends too, really good. But now he's retired, and he lives in a Class A motorhome, and I'll be calling him after the net tonight to find out about. I know where he lives right now, in Tacoma, not too far from you, Ron. I want to say, see, what is that? 27. Oh. I think, what the heck, okay, this 21st, and the numbers get smaller, so I don't know, he must be like, 19th and Houston or something like that. So, if you ever heard in Houston, and then okay, well, well, you're on 37th, aren't you? Oh, okay, the numbers will go, so they get bigger, or smaller from your house, so, probably 29th, maybe, 29th in Houston, not too far from your place. Anyway, but if you, like I say, Class A, no motorhomes, so I'm thinking, I want to find out where he goes. Over here right now. If I had a rig like that, I'd be, I'd be a snowbird, I'd be down where it's nice and warm, except it hasn't been all that, the weather hasn't been great in a lot of places down there. I think Arizona hasn't been too bad, so. Anyway, that's all I know. K7ITX, back to net control.
K7ITX, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Let's go to James, WW7N.
Dave, try muting the digital side right now, and let's see if when we have one digital audio input through my ADAC converter here that Lee can hear that. So, are you muted now? I don't see the little microphone there. Lee, can you hear me now? And is there still an echo? I need you to nod, yes, no. Okay, you can't hear. 2 thumbs up with no echo, so it's sounding good. Okay. No, not sounding good. It is sounding good. It is, yes. Yes, it sounds good. Okay. All right. We all need to load ISL. Okay, well, anyway, to me it's been an interesting net tonight because I have been channeling the audio around to see what we can do here with Echolink down. And so appreciate everybody's patience with that experimenting. I haven't, well, Richard, before we wrap it up, I want to hear what's going on with your relatives in Iceland. What's going on with that? I haven't heard anything on that recently. And Lee, I hope your friend gets the house repaired. That does put my problems in perspective. I just have a deck that's fallen off the side of my house. I don't have inches of frozen water in my basement. That would be something to really deal with there because that's going to expand and mess up the concrete and do all kinds of terrible things, I would think. This street, though, unusual thing happened this year on my street. For 3 decades, this neighborhood has not had, I'm aware of only one burst pipe, and that pipe was so stupidly installed, it's like, what did you expect? But this year, we had, I believe, 3 or 4 houses with ruptured pipes. And I can't decide, I sent out my usual email warning people to do the things they need to do, and I know for a fact one of them, they just didn't do what they were supposed to do. It was a pipe that you're supposed to shut off the water and then blow out, open the taps and let the water drain out, and if you really want to get it all out, use an air compressor. It's actually set up to do that. But I don't know what happened. There was another house that was the same story, just didn't turn off the outside water tap from inside the house. The others, I don't know what the story is on there, but I'm guessing the only difference is that we had lots of wind with the really cold temperatures, because a couple of years ago, it was 10 degrees Fahrenheit is what I measured here. And this year, I think it only got down to about 15 Fahrenheit, but we had all these ruptured pipes. So that was the difference here this year. So anyway, I'm not sure I'm going to make it to the top of the hour. I'm actually not feeling really super great, so I'll hang in here as long as I can. So let me turn it back to Dave, our net control. KD7ZYM, this is WW7N in Northeast Belt. You go ahead, Dave.
W7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. It's been great hearing from everybody out there, and again, audio link there. Hopefully Ron will be feeling better after all of these pills seem to be working and got rid of all the nasties in his gums, so that's or his teeth, so that'll be good. And the water heater is working for Ron. I think that's fantastic. And not the water heater, it's the new heater that he had put in that really works well. And let's see. And Richard doing well. I hope his A1C is going to get better, and that got to be careful with that Sonotooth toothbrush, getting around those gums, exciting everything there. And James, boy, kind of neat that he worked on a 737 way back when, so there's a little history there. And I imagine he's got a little ownership going with that device. As I said, I got to go out on the first 737 that was used for commercial flight, and on a press junket that we went from Seattle up to Vancouver, BC and back many years ago when that plane first came out. And it was a smaller plane. I think the capacity was around 60 passengers in the whole plane. It was that much smaller than the conventional 737 that's out on the market now. So that's about it. So I'm going to send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here again. Yeah, Lee, I saw some pictures of homes up on, Whidbey Island, where the logs are just piled up next to the house, by the beach, where the water came up. Man, what a mess. And I guess the homeowner, is stuck with taking care of that themselves. I don't know if insurance would pay anything on that or not. And Richard, your friend with the motorhome, is he like living, under the overpass or something? Is he, a street person? No, he's a good guy. He has his motorhome at a friend's house or something, or his house or something. Okay, all right. So he has probably a nice Class A. He doesn't, because I do see some places. There was a place along Highway 16 when you go towards I-5 on the right-hand side. There was a bunch of old motorhomes and campers and stuff up there, but they made a move, so they're not there anymore. So I don't have a whole lot, you guys. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we could wrap it up early. Small group. Maybe next time they'll have the whatever it is that needs router that needs to be fixed up on the hill, and maybe Bob will join us, and then Jim will be with us. Jim, I guess, has something to do tonight. And Wade, as I said earlier, he's in Nebraska, I think. I did text with him on Sunday a minute. I told him to, I hope he taking some warm clothes with him. I think it's probably pretty cold there. All right, that's it. KD7QKU, back to Dave.
QKU. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Okay, well, I'm kind of running out of things to talk about with this short group, so yeah, if this is the last round, that's fine. So I'll say 73 with that in mind. And then as far as Iceland goes, nothing has really changed that much since the last time I talked on Saturday. I am following it though, and I do see a lot of cracks and crevices. The main thing, though, is, as I mentioned before, this town where some of our Debbie's relatives live, they call it, so it's funny, the people in the United States or regular media just call it Grindavik, where a true Icelandic geologist calls it the Grindavik. I don't know if that why or what, but it's kind of like a lot of the Icelanders that speak English, or Europeans for that matter, you hear them say "you guys" quite a bit, where this geologist at the University of Iceland, he doesn't say that one single time when he's talking to the audience. He never says "you guys." I think that's just kind of it's hard to speak English if you speak Icelandic or German or whatever. So I'm not ridiculing. It's just a kind of interesting observation. However, as I mentioned before. On the west side of Grindavik, you've got the North American plate. On the east side of Grindavik, you've got the Eurasia tectonic plate. And these two, and these, where they meet together, it goes through the ocean, it goes all, up and down the whole globe, but Grindavik is just a lucky place with that it goes right down the middle of the city. But that's why the city exists. For millions and millions of years, these two plates have been butting heads, and they rise like they're rising right now. For millions of years, these plates will rise when they hit each other, and then the area in the middle, where Grindavik is, sinks lower and lower and lower. And that's why they've got such a deep water port, things of that nature. And there's other parts where the plates come to better in Iceland, where what's going on in Grindavik now happened, millions of years ago. And you've got these big canyon walls with this beautiful valley and this lake that goes down 300 or 400 feet. And Debbie does have cousins that scuba dive in these lakes. It's very beautiful and pristine, and so that's what happens to be in the Grindavik is the subterranean lake, which probably eventually won't be subterranean at some point. And so if you fall in these crevices and cracks that are opening up in the town, and one man already lost his life and another almost did, if you fall, you're going to fall, you'll crash down about 150 feet, and then if you hit the water, and I assume the water is pretty damn hot, that you'll never hit the bottom because that water is 200 feet. So it's a weird deal, and so I think the town is, Iceland has pretty much condemned the town, and everybody that has property in a house there are going to get bailed out by the government. So I think that's the process that's now underway. So with that, K7ITX, back to net control.
7ITX. Let's go to a final with James, WU7N.
One last. It looks like that worked for a while. The audio worked for a while, and then it didn't. So maybe we'll have to work more with that in the future. I don't know. Lee, can you hear me now? At all? You can. Okay. Well, all right. So it seems to somewhat be working for the kind of mix I'm using here. Anyway, well, thank you for the report on what's going on in Iceland. Still sounds like they kind of have a mess there. It fascinates me that the newsworthiness of some story has a distinct time no matter what's going on. I mean, at this point, Iceland could fall into the ocean and you wouldn't hear about it because it's all worn out on the news. So it's just kind of weird on all this stuff. When was the last time you heard anything about Ukraine? That's another weird one. I guess it did make the news today because some airplane got shot down or something. Anyway, well, it's about 14 minutes till. This is James, WU7N. Thank you very much to you all tonight. It's interesting to hear you. I think I'm going to about call it a night and wrap it up there, but I'll give it back to Dave on net control to decide whether you guys want to hang in there or not.
7N, yeah, we'll terminate the net at this point. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our voice transmissions. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, signing off the net at 8:48. Good evening all.